Whales, those huge creatures that rule the ocean and leave us amazed with their majestic dimensions. You may think they're simply big, but big is not a word that defines these animals. These creatures are so huge that next to them any person looks tiny and insignificant. But whales don't have a single size. There are some that are much bigger than others, and that's exactly why these huge whales caught our attention today. Get ready, because you're about to know the biggest whales that exist in this countdown of 5 abnormally large whales you won't believe actually exist. But before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content. With that being said, let's begin. Number 5. The Orca. Let's start this countdown with the smallest of all. And just to be clear, when we say the word small, we mean it in a sarcastic way, because this gigantic whale has a measurement of no other than 9 meters. That's right, you heard right. 9 meters. It's just gigantic. This whale lives in the oceans of the whole world. In addition to being known as the killer whale, this species is also known as blackfish or simply orca. Killer whales are one of the best known animals in the world and are easily identifiable by their large size and the contrast of their black and white colors on their bodies. In fact, the killer whale is the largest animal of the dolphin family, and it's one of the few cetaceans known to be capable of attacking sharks, other whales, and several large marine animals, which helps explain why they're so well known and popular. These whales kick ass. They're very intelligent animals which are well organized and follow very complex social structures within their herd, often composed of several specimens of different generations. Or what's the same to say is that these whales are not like you. They don't leave home and abandon their parents. No, they stay together until they die. It's probably not easy to be a shark and run into a nice family of orcas. Poor guys. It's better for them to swim in another direction if they don't want to suffer a family attack. The social structure of orcas is considered one of the most stable within the animal kingdom, and sometimes come to be compared with that of humans and elephants. Having no real predators, the orca is known as an alpha predator, which means that it's capable of hunting freely without fear of being attacked by another marine animal. But that's kind of obvious. What little marine animal is so brave to mess with a 9-meter whale? When it comes to marine mammals, the killer whale is at the top of the food chain. So the fact that it's the 5th in our countdown doesn't make it harmless. It only means that within the giants, it's the smallest, with no more than 9 meters of intimidation. Number 4. The humpback whale. The number 4 spot is taken by a more harmless but larger whale than the orca. It's the humpback whale, which comes into our ranking thanks to its impressive size. This whale can measure up to 16 meters. It's a well-known and popular whale. This giant whale is one of the most interesting natural attractions on trips to the areas where it lives. It's a very energetic whale that loves to jump. Yes, just as the tender jumps of the dolphin, but on a larger scale, which makes them much more impressive. There's something very interesting about these whales, and that is that they could be contestants on the reality show The Voice. It turns out the humpback whale males sing the longest and most complex songs of the animal kingdom. The songs consist of a series of whistles, squeals, and deep sonorous calls divided into verses sung in a specific order, which can last up to half an hour. The males of the same area sing the same songs, which gradually change over time. So be prepared, because these whales, besides being huge, are very artistic. Of that, you can be sure. Humpback whales have an unusual and quite clever eating behavior. Sometimes they gather their prey in a kind of net or cage of bubbles that they create by exhaling air to create an upward spiral of bubbles. The fish are trapped inside these bubble cages or nets, which allow the whales to swim through them with their mouths open and feed themselves. You have to admit, this method is very unusual but quite creative. So the fact that they're big doesn't mean they're not clever. These mammals have developed a thick layer of fat under the skin instead of hair that allows them to isolate the cold and give them much more endurance. At the same time, the position of their nostrils has moved towards the top of their head, creating a hole through which they take in oxygen when they go up to the surface. Definitely, these are clever, funny, and very interesting animals. The size is definitely not the only thing that draws attention when it comes to the humpback whale, but there's no denying that being 12 meters in size is something that can't go unnoticed. Number 3. Whale shark. Well, if you were amazed by the other whales, be prepared to have your chin drop to the floor, because this countdown is getting more and more interesting. In the 3rd place of our top 5 is the whale shark. Yes, shark and whale in one animal. It sounds pretty intimidating. This animal exceeds the size of the orca. It can measure from 12 to 18 meters. Can you believe it? It's huge, and if its size doesn't impress you, its weight surely will. This big one can weigh up to 15 tons. The whale shark is easy to identify. In addition to its enormous size, it has a bluish-gray color with 2 types of spots, dots and stripes, which it has throughout its body. The bottom part, its belly, is white. Its shape is elongated and thin with a dorsal fin, long pectoral fins, and a large tail. The skin of the whale shark reaches in some places up to 10 centimeters thick. Luckily for us, this huge creature only feeds on small fish, crustaceans, squid, and plankton. So unlike sharks, this huge animal doesn't include us among its favorite dishes. It can swallow around 6,000 liters of water per hour, filtering the plankton through its gills and expelling the water later. When the gills have already caught enough food, it closes its mouth and swallows the food. The whale shark is capable of hunting large schools of fish. In other words, a lot of food in a single bite. As you can imagine, it's necessary to eat a lot to maintain that huge body. It's definitely a fortune that such a large animal is only found in the ocean. We can't imagine what would happen if an animal this big hovered on dry land. It would sure intimidate everyone on its path. Although the whale shark is totally harmless to humans, it's now seriously threatened. Humans are their biggest enemy. Collisions with ships and fishing in countries like India and the Philippines have greatly reduced the population of these animals. Number 2. Sperm whale. As we get closer to the top of our countdown, the whales are getting bigger and bigger. The sperm whale is the largest of all toothed whales, and many people immediately think of the story of Moby Dick when they see it. It's well known for its grayish color and the unique design of its body with a huge head and rows of sharp teeth. At full maturity, the sperm whale can measure more than 18 meters long and can weigh about 20 tons. They only have one nostril and their gigantic brain weighs approximately 9 kilos, which is why this great creature takes the crown as the animal with the largest brain on Earth. The crown part is a figure of speech, because in that huge head, no crown could fit. The sperm whale has the diving record among all the whales. It can dive very easily to about 3,300 feet deep. Good for them. The large size of these whales can make you think maybe they're rough and reckless, but in reality, they're a huge ball of love. These whales create strong bonds with other individuals of the same species. It's interesting to observe how they interact with each other and how they take care of one another, whether taking care of the young or those injured and sick. Many people think that the sperm whale is a lazy animal. Once again, they judge it because of its enormous size, but it's nothing like that. They've earned that reputation because they're often seen performing what is called a log, a position in which they're just below the surfaces of the water with the tail completely submerged, and they're just floating without doing much. But who doesn't enjoy floating in the water while on the beach? We can't blame these whales for wanting to enjoy themselves for a while. These animals usually swim at a speed of 1.6 kilometers per hour. However, if they need it, they can move at a speed of 40 kilometers per hour. These big guys can really be rushed if circumstances call for it. Besides everything we already said about this animal, we're going to give you a pretty curious fact. It turns out the excrement of this mammal is used to create perfumes. Yeah, you heard right. So if you thought the guy in the movie Perfume was weird, imagine seeing a diver looking for sperm whale poop to create a delicious fragrance. Number 1. The blue whale. We've reached the top of our countdown, and the biggest among the big ones is the huge blue whale. This is the largest of all the whales in the world. In fact, it's the largest animal in the world. It can measure between 24 and 25 meters. Huge! However, it's also very thin due to the length of its body, which allows all the weight to be evenly distributed. As a result, the blue whale can move quickly in the water. You won't find blue whales in groups very often. These whales tend to be the loners of the world of whales. Sometimes you'll see a couple of them, but no more than that. Most of the time, they'll be just a mother and her baby. Sometimes, however, they may appear in large herds, probably due to the abundance of food in that region. They can only stay underwater for about 20 minutes before surfacing for air. As a result, these beautiful and huge creatures can be seen constantly on the sea surface. So if you become interested in observing this incredible animal, it won't be a lot of trouble. The blue whale eats large quantities of krill and other small marine creatures. They tend to look for the squids, and they feed on it only when it's abundant. On average, a blue whale consumes around 3,600 kilos of food each day, if available. It seems dogs aren't the only beings that don't know when to stop eating. But to be fair, with that huge size, it's necessary to eat well, and luckily, we're not in its diet. And not only adult whales eat a lot, the whale calves aren't left behind. Feeding a baby whale isn't an easy task for the mother. These little ones can consume between 100 and 150 liters of milk every day. There are many subspecies of blue whales, so they're often confused with other types of whales. You'll find them mainly in the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Some have been seen throughout the Indian Ocean. They used to be found in all the waters around the world, but the figures have dropped very low. A very interesting fact about this incredible animal is that they can live between 80 and 100 years. These animals are definitely impressive. Alright, Top Fivers, if you haven't already, make sure to visit our other channel, The Brilliant, for even more interesting list videos that'll blow your mind. But I'm warning you, the videos over on The Brilliant are extremely addicting to watch as well. There'll be a link in the description to the channel, so make sure to come and visit us. Or you can go to our latest video popping up on screen right now. Oh, and have you visited thefinestpost.com to enjoy the most amazing articles you'll ever get to read?